Greetings guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Monette and this is my channel Evolve with Monette. For those of you that are new here, I am a professional intuitive empath and today we're going to talk about It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, or the principle of the D.E.N.N.I.S theory. So what I wanted to do was kind of expound upon how the narcissist is using the D.E.N.N.I.S theory to during the love bomb stage to get you addicted to them, or in any toxic relationship if your person is not an out and out narc. Now the D.E.N.N.I.S theory is not an actual psychological terminology, but it is something that was talked about on a show called It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Now, there have been a lot of people on the internet that have kind of talked about this, and so I'm going to do my best to break it down for you guys. So when you're dealing with a narcissist, we're talking about the D.E.N.N.I.S theory. So this is an acronym. Well, not really an acronym, but yes, an acronym. D.E.N.N.I.S, okay? So during the love bomb stage. So they demonstrate value, which is the D. They engage physically or energetically into getting someone or something that makes them justify their involvement. It justifies staying in the relationship longer, causing someone to fight harder through the BS. They nurture dependence. Us versus them. This is that Bonnie and Clyde syndrome, me against the world. Anybody that's ever been in a toxic relationship will feel, I mean, Beyonce made a whole song about it because Jay-Z was using this theory with her in order to keep her Stockholmed until he evolved and could get therapy, which he eventually did. But he talks about how badly he treated her in the beginning of the relationship in some of his therapy sessions. If I can find any, I will link it below. So this is not just me opining or guesstimating. This is something he validated, that he was a jerk to her while she was impressionable, young, immature, and wanting to impress him. So this D.E.N.N.I.S theory is used by all people, whether you can classify them officially a narc or not. So they nurture defendants, us versus them. You can't trust anyone else. Okay? You need them. Then another N, neglect emotionally. This either presses on the other's ego. This works because nobody wants to admit that they aren't great, and nobody wants to admit that they were conned. That one we'll come back to. That one is the thing that our ego works against us in those moments, to disengage from something we're sensing intuitively is toxic. And the reason we just don't disengage is because we're convincing ourselves, yeah, I just did this, that I did not get conned. Even though I was totally conned, even though I predicted it and had a premonition of it, I so duped myself that my angels had me do a prediction before it happened, had me deny it while it was happening, had me do more predictions during it and deny those. Our ego is a hell of a drug, as Rick James said. He said it about cocaine, but our ego is a hell of a drug. I knew the whole time and still overrode my wisdom. All right, and my intuition. So that neglect emotionally, nobody wants to, they're a con. So they'll work overtime to prove that neither one of these things are true, that they are not neglecting you and that you aren't conned, which is the greatest con of all. All right, so this is when they, yes, this also works by creating inconsistent rewards. And rats have been studied regarding inconsistent rewards and how it makes him go back and go back and go back and become a fiend, because they're hoping, this is the theory of the slot machine, that eventually something is going to come out good like it did before. Can you guys relate? Is it like kind of like gelling together? So this is the thing here. Also works by creating. This is, yes. And the I is for inspire hope. So if you've been ghosted before by someone who's a toxic person or a narc, the inspire hope is when they text you like, hey, what's up, after like a week of ghosting you, or a few days of ghosting you, or a month or years of ghosting you, and they act like nothing happened. And here's the thing to pay attention to is they give no explanation. Did you go to Mars? Did you become an astronaut? Are you now are you the jockey for seahorse or sea racer or whatever that horse's name was. Like what happened that you just disappeared and then you're not accounting? Were you abducted by aliens? We have all wondered these things in any of our friendly or dating situations with people, or if you're dealing with a narcissist. So even if it's just a familial dynamic, this could be happening there too. So that zero explanation is a super huge red flag. It means that they're a habitual line stepper. They don't have boundaries and they don't respect your relationship. I don't want you to second guess it. We all listen, y'all, as a professional intuitive empath, what that means is I read for people every day. And every day that Jesus sends to this beautiful green earth, someone tells me a litany of excuses that I have to then wade through and help them understand the truth of. Which, when they're when someone creates a vacuum, we will fill it, right? And so if they have ghosted us, we're like, well, they ghosted us because on Tuesdays they go to the noodle house with their mother. They really enjoy pho, and they like to put 3 jalapeno slices in. So they probably couldn't call me because they were having the person cut those jalapeno slices with the thread that you use for your eyebrows, because they don't like when stainless steel touches the jalapenos, because they feel like it disperses the heat capsules and makes the soup hotter. So that 3 seconds they took out to do that is probably, girl, y'all, you see the insanity? I hear that every day, and every day I wait till the person is done and then I do my job, which is to pull them back down to earth, to tether them to reality so that they can start to hear the truth and heal. Don't be that person. But guys, mama, we've all been that person, myself included, okay? No judgment, just education, just ascension, just evolving. All right, so when they're doing this, they text you no explanation. So you've done all the heavy lifting as to why they've ghosted the 3 jalapenos in a diagonal slice, right? So when they saunter back over, you are thirsty as a camel, ladies. You are so thirsty. When they come back, you're like, oh, well, they came back and it's okay. They don't have to tell me where they were, because I just know that, what had happened was it was Thursday, and Thursdays is when they work out their left knee. It's leg day at the gym. Girls, I have heard it all. I have heard it all as to why someone has piss poor, terrible, unaccountable, toxic, irresponsible, immature behavior. We will write a story for someone that we love because they've engaged the other parts of this theory. So now when they come back, we're like, it's fine. You don't have to tell me anything. You're here. We're together. Let me get undressed. That's what happens, okay? Because we're so thirsty. I just want to teach you about this. So what happens is, in that thirst, you overcompensate, and then you separate entirely. So that's the last part that happens. So you overcompensate in that thirstiness in the eye when they ghost you, and then what happens is they separate entirely, and then the process begins again. Nothing plunges you quicker into anxiety like a good old ghosting. So then you are now this pulsating, malleable energy that's thirsty, that's confused, that's feeling not like they explained what happened, they're not communicating with you, or whatever. So what I've done in the last couple years is I figured out things. There's a magic in maturity, guys, is I just call people out on it. Like right away. I've had situations with friends. I've had situations with loved ones. I've had situations in the past with lovers. I am married now, so, in a marriage, I guess we could go see each other in the house, but it just doesn't work the same way. But I've had situations with in-laws, okay, where I have literally been like, so this is going to get handled. So you ghosted me and whatever. I actually had a situation with my brother-in-law where we were having a little chat back and forth, and my sister-in-law called me like maybe a week. I called him, like we were talking about something regarding like gifts for the kids or something, and I didn't hear back from him, and I was like, hey, you ghosted me. Now, this was not in the dentist theory or the toxic thing, but this is an example. Holding someone accountable. And then he was like, oh my gosh, I've never even really heard that word. I didn't know, da-da-da-da, whatever. But a week later, his wife called me as she was going for a mother's moment of Zen walk out in the forest. And she called me and she said, I just texted him that I ghosted him, LOL, because husbands and wives that are in a healthy relationship talk to each other. So he had talked to that about her, saying, Monette called me out for ghosting her. And she said, yeah, from what I can tell from the thread here, you did ghost her, and that's why she called you out. So she texted me, and we laughed about it, and it was all copacetic. But I play no games anymore. That's not always how I have been. But if I feel like someone's inappropriate and or being emotionally abusive, not on my watch. Amianla. Not on my watch with anybody anymore. So it doesn't matter to me. I've gotten over my fear of opening my mouth to speak up for myself, because here's what happens. You can either say to the person, I know what you're doing, and they don't respond. And a lot of you guys in dating situations will have that happen. They're not going to be like, yes, my brother-in-law and I have a different friendship relationship and wasn't that energy. So it was very easy for us to understand. He was learning about my boundaries, which is I don't do well with this. And excuse me, beyond not doing well with this, I don't accept it. So if you want my energy, then you'll respect my energy. The end. And I meant that. And now he understands. And now she understands. And we all understand. So back to the ghosting. Let's see here if I can pull it back up. You know, your iPad always wants to do, not iPad for me, it's a, what is this? I don't even know what it is. Amazon thing. One of the ones that's Amazon. Not Amazon, but what is this? Yeah, it is a fire. All right. So the energy here with that, let's go over it again real quick. Demonstrate value. Okay. Demonstrate value. Engage physically or energetically. Okay. Nurture dependence. Neglect you emotionally. Inspire hope. And then finally, separate completely. So these are the steps that are happening with your narc. And I want you guys to have a little bit of a handbook about that. That makes it so that they have you as a weak prey. They've weakened your defenses because you've done all this work, because you can't believe that they don't like you as much as they've intimated that they do. You can't believe that what is happening between the two of you is not true. And then they make you thirsty, and then they make you work, and then they make you do all the work and fill up the space. And then the cycle begins again when they ghost you again. That's one of the things that you need to understand, and that I've learned in working with clients over these many years, is that when someone shows you who they are, Maya Angelou said it, of course you believe them the first time. But history is the best predictor of future behavior if someone is not actively doing their shadow work and their work. So the thing about this is, if someone is in your life and you're already in a ghosting loop within 6 months, like you just started dating someone new and you're in a weird ghosty loop with you, the first time they do that, you call their ass out on it. The first time. We always get it one time to make a mistake, right? I'm not giving you 75, 50, 11 times at this point in my life. I have been that girl that's given way too many chances to people that took advantage of it over and over and over again. So, like, for example, with my brother-in-law, when I noticed that, it was the first time that that happened. And it hurt my feelings, and I felt away. And so I decided there was something I needed to say. And I did. Could have gone left. I also weighed that. Before you deal with someone and you accuse them of ghosting and or call them out for their behavior, if they're emotionally manipulating you in this way that I've just discussed with the dentist theory, you need to understand whether you want to keep or lose that relationship, because someone who's a true ghoster, a true F-boy or F-girl is literally going to just run because they want nothing to do with taking any accountability. Someone who cares about you may be like, oh, you know what, I did, or oh, you know what, I did, I wasn't aware. And that was what happened in my case with my brother-in-law. You see, it was a very, very quick kind of like exchange that made it very easy for me to move forward. And I was like, because I had already weighed, if he can't take accountability and behave himself, I don't have to talk to him at all. I married into this family. I don't know you, and I don't need to know you after this. And that's really how I felt. So I was like, if this is going to be how this goes, then this is not okay. And that was a simple little thing, y'all. I wish I had this kind of like battery in my back 10 years ago, my life would have been, I would have been like a multi-bajillionaire by now. It's really empowering when you start to realize the psychological mind games people are playing. So pay attention, review the D.E.N.N.I.S theory. I'll do it one more time before we go. Demonstrating value, engaging physically or energetically, nurturing and dependence, getting you to need them so that they can neglect you emotionally. That's the next N. And then inspiring hope. So this is calling you with no explanation, and then separating entirely. Once again, do not get hooked by the D.E.N.N.I.S theory. And if you notice this playing out in your life, put a halt to it and just pull away. That's the advice that I would give. Literally, you have to be okay with walking away, because somebody that's doing this is not ready to take any accountability at all. All right, guys. So good sharing energy with you guys today. Pay attention. There are emotional manipulators everywhere, especially when you're an empath. We often fall into these traps with toxic people, these toxic dynamics, because we haven't healed. We're toxic in our over-nurturance, over-dependence, and over-explaining. Okay? That's a toxic trait that we have. They're toxic and they're taking advantage and they're low life kind of vibration. Either way, those two things are baking soda and vinegar. It causes explosions, and you're usually the one who's dealing with the acidic chemical burn in the aftermath. All right, guys, so pay attention. I love you so much. Come back and we will continue to evolve together.